painting the walls, cleaning, closing the toilet seats. Like when you're in a home for so long, these are things that you might not have noticed because you're so personal to it. But when you have someone professional come in and explain to you the thought process behind these suggestions, you get it.
Welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate with your host, Denise Laframboise. Real people sharing real stories about their adventures in real estate.
Hey there, it's Denise Laframboise, and today I have Farah with me. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Denise.
So we were going to chat a bit today about shopping for homes and looking at homes that were for sale. So I'm wondering if you can share a bit about shopping for homes and what you noticed when you were shopping.
So I like to go to a lot of model homes and the Princess Margaret model homes in particular, because it always felt like an experience. It didn't just feel like we were looking at a home. It felt like we were walking through a well-formed, composed art gallery. And I was very moved by that. So when it came time to selling my own home, my primary residence, I instinctually felt the need to make the potential buyer have the same experience that I had walking through model homes. So essentially, I started gathering what at the time I thought was pretty and staged my own home. Our house sold within a few days, over asking in a hot market, and the client bought all the furniture. So
they bought all the furniture.
Bought it fully furnished. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, this is incredible. I wonder who's doing this. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of people doing design and staging. So I thought I could just do it to help people actualize the complete value of their home.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, what a difference do you notice, from looking at some of the homes for sale and then looking at the Princess Margaret, dream homes, right? How do they make you feel when you walk through them?
Yeah.
It can be night and day difference.
Yeah. And there's when you're selling your home for the market, it doesn't have to be staged to show the Princess Margaret, lottery homes. Even the smallest things, Denise, make the biggest difference. Things like just decluttering, showcasing more of the home and less of your personal things. Such a big difference. Or taking down personal artwork and replacing it with something that's a little bit more abstract. Painting the walls, cleaning, closing the toilet seats. When you're in a home for so long, these are things that you might not have noticed because you're so personal to it. But when you have someone professional come in and explain to you the thought process behind these suggestions, you get it.
Yeah.
And now, 7 years later, we've grown my company to employ over a dozen staff members, and we are helping thousands of people and realtors learn how to market their home for top value. It's great.
Yeah. And what a difference. So we've sold a couple houses, and I remember the first one, it was super hot market, and our realtors at the time were you don't need to stage. Your house looks beautiful. Just leave it as is. Which was okay. And it was a fine experience. That was the first home I ever sold. The second one we sold, it was actually vacant. And they brought in stagers and staged the living room, the dining room, and one bedroom. Just stage it. But that little bit of difference made you feel like it was a real house compared to the cold, empty, vacancy of just a property, right?
Yes.
It was a huge difference.
Yeah. And you said it was just even a couple of rooms. I think a lot of people think staging is too expensive, or it's thousands of dollars. It doesn't have to be. I think a good staging company will strategically work within your budget and advise, which rooms they believe should be staged over others. And even just doing those rooms will add tremendous value. So I encourage whoever your realtor is, or even you, the homeowner, to to really consider staging seriously as a marketing advantage when it comes to selling your home.
Right? Because when you say people think it's too expensive, I kind of think the opposite. From our experience with those two, how much different it felt walking into one house than the other, it may be too expensive not to stage.
Oh,
right?
I'm going to write that one down.
For real, because it was just such a difference. And I actually think in hindsight, that original realtor was in a super hot market. They could put a for sale sign, everything would sell. I think they were too afraid to offend me. Like, oh, you know, that they were like, if we say you have to stage this, that you're going to think your style isn't good. When in actual fact, I was hiring them to do a job and get the most money for my house. It doesn't matter what color I like or what color the walls are when I live there. I need to know what color the walls need to be so that somebody else is going to pay me a lot of money for this house.
You know what? And that's the thing. Like, the realtor doesn't have to be the bad guy.
Oh, you'll be the bad guy.
Bad girl. Or the bad girl. You know, the realtor, and I'm sure even for you to hear it from a designer as opposed to a realtor, holds different weight and different value. And I have no problem walking into a home and notifying the homeowner that there is a strong food smell that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
You know, and realtors, they might tiptoe around that because they don't want to seem, you know, rude or offensive.
But when you've decided to sell your house, it isn't an emotional thing anymore. You need to let go of the emotion. This is now a business transaction, right? So it really is. Let's look at what we need to do to make our bottom line as good as possible. Correct. Right?
The investment you're probably ever going to own in your lifetime. Look at it like a stock. Don't have that emotional connection. Yeah. I'm married to a realtor, so he always says you can never fall in love with your real estate. Because, you know, as an investor and as a wealth builder, you want to look at it like, how am I going to reap the highest ROI possible?
Yeah. Yeah. But go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the reality is we are emotionally attached to our home. So especially when it's your own home, that it just like, especially like, I mean, that house that we were selling, like that was my first house I had babies in. Like it was where we started to build a family, and you would think that's super emotional. I'm not, I'm very analytical. So I was like, give me the most money for my house. My husband is the military brat that had to move all the time. So every time I make him move, he's like, oh my gosh, why aren't we moving? I love that house. Let me stay there forever. Like he just never wants to move. Right. Yeah. Rapid fire stuff. So I'm going to ask you, so what are the top staging tips you have? Like, are there certain rooms that it's like, this is, if you only have money for one room to stage, like what you should stage?
The family room, like, or the kitchen, like the area where the family would gather the most, you know. But I always say, like, an impression is made within 3 to 5 seconds. So if that living room that they walked into is not, you know, pulling them to the home, then you've lost them already. So if you only have enough in the budget to do a single room, I might then suggest, listen, for consistency and flow, we don't stage. However, you hire somebody to do a deep clean. Maybe you hire somebody to paint the walls a fresh, neutral color. Depersonalize and declutter. Deep clean, depersonalize, and declutter. Those are 3 things that anyone can do for significantly less.
Yeah. And then if they're going to do everything, your company typically comes in, brings furniture, brings everything, right?
Yeah, so here's the extent of our services. We make the recommendations for what we believe the homeowner should remove or keep in their home. We give them a detailed list. That's for occupied homes. And then it's up to the homeowner to arrange for all of those suggestions to be made. So if we suggest a paint color, they're responsible for hiring the painter to paint the walls. If we're suggesting lighting upgrades, they're responsible for hiring the electrician to install. Now, we can provide a list of our recommended trades. However, we say get a few quotes. Yeah. Then once the home is prepared, according to the list that we've provided, We come in with our furniture, the furniture and our artwork, and set it up. And then when it's sold, we come back and take it all away.
And so do people pay a flat fee for this service? Do they pay like a rental agreement for renting the furniture for a certain amount of time? How does that work?
It's a hybrid of both. We provide a contractual agreement which states the terms of the staging, rentals, and design services. It's all in one, including delivery, but it's broken down in a very detailed manner that would allow the client to really understand what it is we're bringing, where it's going, how much it costs, how long it's for, and it includes the delivery.
And it includes like, so you do furniture, you do artwork, like knickknacks, like the things that I'm seeing in your background there, like plants and books and stuff.
This room in behind me, and I know people who are listening, it's a fully furnished room. We do all of that: the furniture, the area rug, the accessories, and the artwork.
Like I'm looking at that thinking, can I just have you stage my home? Like in general, like I'm not selling it right now, but like, can you just stage it so that it looks really, really pretty for living in?
Are you home right now?
No, I'm at the office.
Okay, well, the office looks really pretty. So whoever did that, bravo to them. Yes. People need to associate design with their mood. If you walk into a well-designed environment, you actually feel better.
Yeah.
And that's why we do what we do during the home selling process for staging, so buyers feel good when they walk into your house. But we're not just a staging company. We're a full service interior design company, which is also really neat because the two lend itself to one another. But interior design is also a great way to invest into your property, because this is so that it avoids you from making costly mistakes on furniture, putting rooms together. You might not have the critical eye, but then the logistics, having everything delivered, assembled, we take care of all of that.
It's also beautiful that you do both, because the idea that, say, you want to do some design stuff in your home, but if you do it in a way that works for you, but also will help you for selling in the future, like do a bit of both.
Yes.
There may be small things that you're like, oh, okay, this lighting might be something you want to change, or this, like, we just did our staircase, which you'd think a staircase doesn't make a difference, but having like, instead of those old wood spindles, like the nice, like metal, like total difference in the look of our staircase.
Every time we're finished staging for a client, they're like, why didn't I do this and live like this? Like, I should have enjoyed the space. And a lot of the times they're like, I don't even want to move anymore. But I mean, it's just such a great investment. It's not even if you can't afford it, because of course design is a luxury. Okay. But if we're looking at property as an investment, I think you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing though, looking at it as a business, like when you've decided you want to sell a home, like if there's investments you can make in order to get the most money, like that, it's a business transaction. Right. But it's very often that I see people say like, oh, I need to redo my kitchen, or I need to redo my bathrooms before I sell. Maybe you don't. Maybe staging's enough. Maybe just changing out tile, maybe just a new vanity. Like maybe it's not a full reno, because you can spend your money wisely, and you can spend your money crazy. Like I recall going shopping for homes, and there were things that people had spent a lot of money renovating that I would rip out the day I bought it,
Right. And what were those things?
Well, just like a really ugly kitchen with like the busy mosaic that just made me crazy, or like, my kitchen had like black tiles. They're beautiful, like beveled tiles. This is not my style, right? I like a clean white, like,
and that's what staging suggests. Like when we're making recommendations for clients, if they want to go as far as backsplash, we would never recommend a busy mosaic. Yeah. We would do like a white subway tile, keep it just neutral. Yeah. White counters, and that should be turnkey for the sellers, for the buyers rather, so that they can bring their own personal touch,
But that's where I think like sometimes people are like, oh, it's going to cost a lot of money. Maybe it's just changing out some light fixtures. Like maybe it's not a full reno.
Yeah,
And that's where I think it's really clever that you're doing the design and the staging so that you can kind of give advice that dovetails into both, right?
exactly. The smallest bit goes a long way with design. The smallest thing, changing out a rug can change out the whole look of the room. Changing the wall color. Like I recently designed my husband's office, and we originally had a very pastel blue in the office, and he just kept saying, I need to change this color. I need to change this color. So we went with this deep, dark, like polo blue.
Oh yeah.
And it's a small room and there's crown molding, but the depth of the blue on the walls just gave that room so much personality. And he's so much more productive in the
He
room.
just loves it now.
He just loves it. So,
Yeah.
It's just a different way of looking at these things and then just doing it and realizing how wonderful it is. Can you tell I love what I do?
I love it. I love that you love what you do. So you actually have a very big company. Where do you provide staging services?
All over Ontario. So
everywhere. Okay. And then where, like if somebody wants to get a hold of you or find out more about your business, like where do they find you?
So they can call you because you and I are friends now. But you just have to visit our website, ladiestouch.ca. That's LADYSTOUCH.ca, or give us a call, 416-665-4693, or follow us on Instagram at ladiestouch.ca.
I love it. I'm obsessed with your Instagram, actually. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I really appreciate you joining me today and sharing these tips. I think it actually will help a lot of people just to think about, okay, maybe I do need to think about staging, or maybe it is like, I think a lot of the time, even a staging consult, well before you're ready to sell. I want to sell in 5 years. What are the things I need to keep in mind now for the future? Right?
Preach. Preach, girl.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And so this was Real Stories in Real Estate. I'm your host, Denise LaFramboise. You can find these podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, or anywhere else that you consume your podcasts. Thanks so much.